If I am vibrating a good feeling state all the time, I'm going to attract to my life the things that I want. Like, think about showing up at a party. If you show up at that party and your energy is, oh, hey, party, I can't
ready
wait.
to dance and party.
Yeah. Who wants to talk? Who wants to hang? Who wants to go in the corner and make out?
That's hilarious.
If everything is consciousness, then everything's made from this stuff called consciousness. Everything is energy, then everything is made from energy. And matter is just a variety of energy.
Hang on, can you just rewind and say that again? Because I'm like, wait, snap, I didn't even know that. Michael, you're kind of a genius.
I was getting sick. I was getting an autoimmune disorder. And the doctors said to me, this is going to kill you. It started with the illness. And I said, I will never talk about this illness ever again.
Oh my God, you're going to make me cry. I mean, because so many people haven't discovered how to do that. And you're so joyful, you're radiant. So what do you do to keep up that 90% level? And that is a high bar. Hello, welcome back to Getting Open with me, Andrea Miller. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. This is one of my all-time favorite shows. I am not lying. It is so good. My guest and I go so deep into manifestation, and we go so light and so high vibe. Oh, it is everything from getting into the depths of how Daoism is the OG of all things law of attraction, really. How my guest has overcome a deadly autoimmune disease using the techniques of manifestation. Yes, really, not lying. To how you can finally live the life of your dreams using these techniques. And honestly, what Dave Chappelle can teach you about being a big dreamer. It is that and so much more, and it's so good. Let's get into it. Michael Hunter is the visionary behind UpSpiral Life, a transformative program and community with nearly 2 million followers on social media. And it is designed to help professionals escape the confines of modern conditioning and cultivate deeply aligned, abundant lives. Through UpSpiral Life, Michael guides people from a state of exhaustion and disconnection into a natural flow, facilitating profound personal shifts. Michael holds an MFA in acupuncture, is a licensed acupuncturist, and has an MFA in fine arts. Welcome to Getting Open, Michael. Oh my God, I'm so excited to talk to you.
So good to be here. Thanks for having me, Andrea.
Yeah, okay. So you have an amazing social following. I'm obsessed. Our entire team is obsessed. So thank you for that, for bringing so much high vibes and wisdom and insight to us and to so many other people. At the beginning of almost all your videos, you promise to help people master their personal energetics. What does that mean?
Well, all of us are energetic beings having a physical experience, right? We came into these bodies from somewhere else, and we're in Earth school for 80 to 100 years, and we're going to have a last day with a last breath when we leave Earth school and go back home to the energetic soup, the quantum field, which is where we came from. And so our energetic anatomy is our primary anatomy. Our material body articulates itself on our energetic anatomy when we're born through our DNA. And so to master your energy is really about mastering your energetic anatomy. And how it plays out in terms of our behavior is being in charge of what we think, say, and feel. And in our modern culture, we're conditioned to believe that you don't really have control over any of those things. Maybe if you learn to shut up enough, you can control what comes out of your mouth. But otherwise, we have very little control over our thoughts and almost no control over our feelings. So we're really at the whims of the energy that's flowing around us. And what the promise of this work is a mastery of the energetic anatomy, which allows control over thoughts, feelings, and then by consequence, words.
Are you going to tell me what energetic anatomy is?
Yeah. So the short answer is most people are familiar with the chakra system from yoga, right? The energetic anatomy from Daoism. So my background is acupuncture. I've been an acupuncturist for 30 years. And
Do you still practice it?
I don't. So I left acupuncture about a year ago to do this UpSpiral Life program. Acupuncture is based in Daoism, and Daoism is the original law of attraction conversation. That's the OG. And one of the really cool things about Daoism is it has this recognition that we are spiritual beings, energetic beings, having a physical experience, that we're here parked in Earth school for 80 to 100 years, and we're going to be splitting at some point. And the usefulness of that is that Daoism recognizes that our energetic anatomy is primary. And so it's about a 5,000-year-old philosophy. And it established frameworks through observation of what the energetic anatomy is. And it reflected throughout Asia. So you see it show up as the chakra system. Daoism has that as well. But it's not limited. The Taoist version is not limited to the 7 chakras you see in yoga. There's a lot more to it. In fact, the acupuncture points, there's over 400 of them, are smaller aspects of this chakra system. So you can think of the acupuncture points as like 400 different chakras. But there's major power centers, which are the 7 chakras that we're all familiar with. That's the energetic anatomy.
Okay. So, by the way, I didn't realize, did you say that the law of attraction is rooted in Taoism?
Yeah, the law of attraction is the oldest conversation on the planet. The oldest, because the inquiry, if you think about it, the inquiry that law of attraction is positing is, what the heck is going on here? Like, what's really going on here? Because what it seems like is it's a material world, but I have a sense that it's something more than that there's some energetic or spiritual quality to what's happening here. So the inquiry from law of attraction, anytime you delve into that inquiry, is, what the heck is really going on here? And every wisdom tradition on the planet has been asking the same question. What the heck is really going on here? And the answer is universal. It's everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Einstein said that. That's a quote from Einstein. Quantum physics.
Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah, that's a direct quote from Albert Einstein. And every wisdom tradition has their own version of that. Of course, all the science-based traditions like quantum physics and the like are all talking about energy. Law of attraction also talks about energy. They talk about frequency and vibration, because energy is it's vibrating. The way energy articulates itself and differentiates itself is through its vibration. And all
right. You've got the whole electromagnetic spectrum, from ultraviolet to infrared and microwave and everything in between, and the spectrum of light. So all those waves are vibrating at different frequencies. Okay, I'm tracking. Let's keep going.
Correct. Yeah. And so Daoism asked the same question like 5,000 years ago. The reason Daoism gets to call themselves the first is they created a system of writing 5,000 years ago. They weren't the first writing system on the planet, but their writing system is unique because it's stuck around. It's still the same writing system we see in China today. So Chinese language as we know it today, written Chinese, is a derivative of the Taoist Chinese that was written 5,000 years ago. So that's the oldest contiguous writing system on the planet. And that's why we get to say Taoism is the OG law of attraction conversation.
What do you mean by writing system? Do you mean like characters, Chinese characters, and how they fit together to communicate, basically?
Yeah. So the alphabet, for example, that we know at ABCD derives from the Hebrew alphabet, which only goes back 3,000 years, 2,000 years. The age of Plato, in Plato's time in ancient Greece, they were just discovering this thing called alphabet. It was a totally new technology and groundbreaking at the time. So just to sort of constellate where writing is recent in human history. I mean, the human genus has been on the planet 2 million years, and writing first appeared on the scene 5,000-6,000 years ago, which is kind of 2-3 days ago.
Right, exactly. Yeah, very, very nascent in geologic time. So Taoism, you're saying, had that original writing, and that somehow, connect the dots for me, if you will, between the writing and that energetic, and asking the question, what's going on here? How does that connect to the law of attraction?
Yeah, so the Taoists, like all of the shamanic cultures, right? So Taoism emerges from a shamanic culture in China called the Wu, which is where we get the term woo-woo from.
Yeah.
So the Wu...
I actually didn't realize... Hang on, can you just rewind and say that again? Because I'm like, wait, snap, I didn't even know that. So Wu is... There's actually something in historical terms about Wu. What was that?
So there's this ancient culture in China that tracks back to at least the last ice age. That's as far back as the archaeology goes that we have on them. And they were a culture spread broadly over what is today China. And they were a tribal, indigenous, shamanic culture. And they were a matriarchal culture as well. And
I'm kind of loving that, Michael.
Yeah. And round about 5,000 years ago, they developed a system of writing. And when they started writing things down, they self-referred to themselves as Taoists. And that's how Daoism was born. But it comes from this shamanic culture. And,
of the Wu, the shamanic culture of the Wu in China.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they were super into old magic and the old ways of being and spirit connected with the larger energetic field, the quantum field as we know it today. They were tapped in and turned on, and their energetic anatomy was lit up and activated. Their chakra systems were fully activated, which gives them conversational fluency with the wider field. And so they thought this is worth writing down. So they started writing all that down, and that became Daoism. And out of that emerged acupuncture, and out of that emerged Qigong, and out of Qigong emerged all of martial arts. Tai Chi, the rest of it.
Michael, you're kind of a genius. I'm loving this history lesson. It is so cool. Okay, so when you talk about how they were lit up energetically, talk to me about that. And honestly, can you talk about some evidence of that? I can imagine, but I'd love to not assume anything.
So how they're lit up energetically?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you said that kind of getting lit up energetically is what motivated them to develop this writing system.
Yeah, so they were in the inquiry, what the heck is going on here, right? What the heck is going on here? And to the Wu, the answer was, oh, everything's spirit, and that's all there is to it. So that was their vocabulary to put around everything's energy. Everything's spirit, and that's all there is to it.
But what do you think that looked like? I'm sorry, maybe you're about to answer that. Or, what was that experientially? If we were you and me, if we got into your time machine, because I think you're going to probably make one because you're such a genius, make a time machine and go back and plop down into the plateaus of China where the Wu were, what would they look like doing all this energetically?
Not too much different from how we look today. Remember, we're talking about, they track back archaeologically 12,000 years ago, but the human genus has been around 2 million years. So 12,000 years ago, within the last 2 weeks was the Wu.
But how, I guess I'm trying to understand what's the experience of that, because yes, I get they might look like us, but I would expect their experience of life is dramatically different than most of ours. If we're talking, they're genuinely those kind of energetic beings.
Dramatically different because they had their energetic anatomy as primary. Their whole cognitive understanding of who they were begins with, I am an energetic being having a physical experience. Our conditioning is the opposite. We're physical beings, and we have some energy running through us. If we're inclined, we have some spiritual stuff running through us too. But the Wu came at it from the other way. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience. We're here in Earth School, 80 to 100 years. And so their orientation from the get is spiritual, energetic. And over thousands of years of observation, remember, all the shamanic cultures have been asking the same question: what the heck is really going on here? And they have their answer to it. And the answer is always the same. It's some version of everything's energy, and that's all there is to it. The Wu had that same answer. And over thousands of years of observation, they realized, this energetic anatomy, it actually has structure. There's structure to the energetic anatomy. You can actually tap into it. It's not like white noise on your TV screen. It's actually highly articulated geometry in the body that doesn't have a structural component. It's an energetic geometry. And
Okay, go ahead.
And so the chakra system was born, but it was born over thousands of years of observation. And through embodiment meditations that they developed, they realized, where your attention goes, your life force flows. That's a saying from Daoism. They say, where your attention goes, your chi flows. And so where your attention goes, your life force flows. So for example, you can drop your awareness from your head to your heart. And start breathing in and out of your heart to anchor your awareness there. And you are right now, Andrea, activating your heart chakra. The the primary chakra in your body. In fact, it's so primary that Western medicine is caught up. There's an amazing institute in Northern California called the Heart Math Institute that's been around for over 30 years. And they've been focusing on the heart chakra and ways to activate it. They don't talk about it as the heart chakra so much. They're very science focused. And thank God they are, because they really put the heart chakra on the map with so much data demonstrating that doing this simple move that I just talked you through actually has measurable benefits that is backed by decades of data that they've collected.
I'm for those of you who are listening and not watching, I am shaking my head vigorously. I had the great fortune of interviewing Deborah Rosman, HeartMath CEO, a handful of months ago. I am so obsessed with the HeartMath Institute and everything you're saying. The burning question I had for her, and I'm going to leave it there because I have more burning questions for you, is, oh my gosh, why doesn't everybody know about this? And I only really got initiated into the HeartMath's work and data, and more importantly, the revelation of just how powerful our hearts are for impacting our physiology, and you could argue more important, emotionally, and our reality. Because when we're emotionally coherent, heart coherence, that impacts our reality, and that impacts us physiologically, right? I mean, back to stress is the number one killer, and it feels like there's this utter disconnection for so many people, especially in the West, that is leading to so much, genuine heartache, like literal heartache.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's an amazing history of Daoism and getting kind of grounded in your amazing work. You talk about, I think you say something to the effect of, successful manifestors spend 90% of their energy on feeling good now and 10% on the actions the universe is inspiring them to take. I was like, whoa, is it that easy, Michael? Is it really 90% like just how you show up? Because if it is, oh my God, game changer.
It's totally that. Yeah. And, Joe Dispenza, another great teacher in this space, talks really articulately about this point. And he says, you can manifest from matter. You can. That's what everyone in the material world is doing. Going to their 9 to 5, grinding it out, working hard.
Hang on, what do you mean by you can manifest from matter? I've heard that too, but I think it can be what does that mean?
So can you earn a living? Never pay attention to the law of attraction conversation. Never tend your inner energy, never be in control of what you think, say, or feel. Can you still earn a living, buy a house, buy a car, feed your family? Yeah, people have been doing it for hundreds of years in this culture. It's doable. It's work. It's pushing a boulder up a hill. It's grinding it out. It's I can't wait to retirement kind of thinking. You can do it that way. If you want to manifest using the quantum field, to use Joe Dispenza's language, it's a different way of going about it. It's tending to your vibration internally, how you feel, what you think, say, and feel, tending to that energetic inside, tending to the primary anatomy that you are first, so that you're in alignment with the wider field, so that communication happens in an easy back and forth flow state. The Taoists call this Wu Wei, which means effortless functioning. So when
Wu Wei, effortless functioning. Oh my God, Wu Wei for the win. I want to hashtag that like all day long, forever, everywhere. Okay, keep going.
Totally. Yeah. And so, so 90% of my attention on feeling my feeling state. So just doing that. So if I am vibrating a good feeling state all the time, 90% of the time, I'm going to attract to my life the things that I want. And it's very logical. Like, think about showing up at a party, right? If you show up totally depressed and totally angry and like pissed that you're there and wanting to be in the corner and having to be there because your partner or your friend dragged you to the party, you're going to have a very different experience than if you show up at that party and your energy is, oh, hey, everybody,
magnetic,
I can't
ready
wait.
to dance and party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who wants to talk? Who wants to hang? Who wants to go in the corner and make out? Come on.
Me.
It's a different
That's
energy.
hilarious.
And that's the energetic field and how matter reflects back at it instantly is happening all the time. And we actually know it and we live it in a very logical way. You can be in line at the coffee shop buying coffee and you can change that the way the barista treats you by how you treat them. A smile, you can create smiles in other people just by smiling at them, just by being in control of what's here. And science shows that just being in control of what's here actually impacts your own brain chemistry and your own neurology and actually makes you feel better.
I'd love just to chime in there, Michael, and add, I'm a big eye contact person. I live in Colorado now, but I lived in New York City for 19 years. And, you walk a lot when you live in New York City. And honestly, like a high that I would always get just walking. I mean, by the way, you can walk down any street. You just don't walk around Colorado Springs that often. But to make eye contact, I do this in airports too, by the way, with strangers. You make the eye contact and you smile. That oxytocin is released from your eyes. It really, you feel like, I feel it. And yeah, some people will look away. That can be deeply uncomfortable for some people. But you make that connection with a stranger and they make that eye contact and smile right back at you. It's like zing.
Yeah. It's like a hit.
And with the barista, and you're right, just in all these micro exchanges with strangers, it is an energetic exchange. And the ugly opposite is true too. You show up, you scowl, you look away, you fold your arms, right? That body language it's the biggest tell. It's 70% of our communication, right?
Yeah. And this is why I make so many videos about venting. I'm so anti-venting because people get into the habit of socializing through venting.
Well, it's like, I just need to vent, right? Like, I just need to vent. And that's a good thing. And I've said that, I've got one friend in particular. I'm like, I just need to vent. She's like, it's cool. Cause I'm like, oh, that's so low vibe. She's like, no, it's okay. Get it off your chest. So I shouldn't get it off my chest like that anymore. Is that what you're telling me, Michael?
So there's a very careful dosing of venting. So first of all,
we want to titrate dosing, titrate venting.
I'll tell you why. But first, to debunk the whole idea that venting is actually even a thing, because there's this venting has the underlying concept of venting is like, I've got all these bad feelings inside. And if I talk about them, I get them out of my body. They're like, they have an actual physical component. I can get them out like, bleh, and I feel better. That's not the case. Because if you switch it up and you think of a positive emotion like love, if you talk about the people you love, the things you love in your life with a friend, you vent the love. Do you vent the love out of your body? Do you get home and go, oh, honey, sorry, I talked about you loving you all day.
Yeah, I vomited all that love out. Sorry, I don't have any left.
There's nothing left. I just should shut up and not talk about loving you so much. No, the opposite is true. When you talk about the things you love and the people you love and the things you appreciate in your life, you just get more of the same. That energy starts to amplify. Why? Because the quantum field reflects back at you more of the same. The same thing happens with venting. When you are broadcasting that negative low vibe signal, it just comes back more. There's one use case where venting is useful, and that is nothing qualifies what we want in life, the direction we want to go, more clearly than what we don't want. And so Abraham Hicks, one of my dearest, beloved law of attraction teachers, talks about the 80-20 split. She says, don't talk about negative things more than 20% of the time. And when you do talk about it, use it intentionally to set your compass heading for where you actually want to go. So only allow yourself to vent or talk about negative things or be in a low vibe state if you have a sense of problem solving. I need to talk about this to get my mind around it, around the structure of it, so that I can know where to go to solve this from here and then leave it. If you are doing venting in a social context to connect with coworkers, oh my God, walk away from that group. Walk away.
Well, and that kind of can get into gossiping and just a continuum of kind of low vibe and a negative loop. So, okay, but in the case of a friend, a coworker, a spouse, somebody in your life really disappoints you and you're just like, oh, I just feel freaking frustrated. We've had the conversation 10 times. They did it again. I don't feel seen. So is that it's okay for me to talk to a friend about that as long as I don't do it more than 20% of the time? Is that what you're saying?
I would say in that situation, I wouldn't say a thing to anybody else. I would take it up with the person who boundary crossed me. I go straight for the solution. Like if I'm feeling like it's not, don't ever feel negative things. We're going to get the slings and arrows of life all the time. That's what Earth School is. It's how do you handle it? And so if I'm confronted with a boundary cross that really needs attention, I go straight for the thing that needs attention, which is the person that crossed my boundary.
But let me ask you this, Michael, because what I have found And yes, I mean, this is, I think, maybe a yes and. What I have found, there's one person in particular that I go to, and she's so wise. And it's like, I'll go to her with this frustration about how somebody behaved or showed up or whatnot. And as we talk through it, 99.9% of the time, she helps me come through to a solution or a perspective that I wouldn't have doing it solo. You know what I mean? So in a lot of ways, I mean, and I love to refer to Sue Johnson, the late great Sue Johnson. Her EFT, emotionally focused therapy, I think it was. She always talks about how relationships grow each other, the good, the bad, the ugly, right? So there's a part of me that can't help but wonder, we don't want to trauma vomit. We don't want to just, be stewed in negativity all the time. But I think about this person in particular in my life who not only helps me calm my co-regulate. So, she's calm. So it helps me co-regulate my nervous system with her calm nervous system. She helps me, she'll, kind of poke holes in my frustration and help me get to a better place. So so I realize that starts with venting, and then as a result, she and I have built a very trusting relationship. You know what I mean? Like, I know I can go to her with anything. So isn't there some value in that? When you think of venting, like that's the vehicle for the venting, the outcome isn't just, oh, I've just gotten out of my system. In part, I've built trust with the relationship in a relationship with somebody that I can bring my troubles to.
Yeah. That's a solution, right? And I'm all in favor of solutions. So however you get there, and that's a beautiful, intelligent way to get to solutions. And I use it myself. So there's not one way to do this. It's getting to a good feeling place. There's a little bit of a slippery slope here when it comes to venting, because what you're describing, Andrea, is like a legitimate way to get to a solution. So you've had a boundary cross with someone and you find this legitimate way to get to it, and you've left the energy behind, and now you feel better, legitimately feel better in a long lasting kind of way.
Well, and I'm going to add to that, and thank you. That's such a great reflection back to me, because when I think about the times that I'm frustrated, and again, whether it's a friend, a family member, a coworker, you name it, it's like, oh, I'm annoyed. But my intention is literally always, what can I learn from this? Because these are my teachers, right? I always talk about this concept of the uninvited Buddha, right? Someone is frustrating me. They must have something to teach me. And as somebody who seeks to be high vibe for all the right reasons, it's like, I don't want to sit and stew. I don't want to have this attachment to the negative. So you're right. I mean, so when I think of, we need a new word for venting, maybe I'll come back to you with one, like, I'm trying to think of like how you do problem solving and venting in one word, because that, when you think venting just as, let me, verbal diarrhea versus let me get to a better understanding and maybe even develop a greater trusting bond with this other person. But I appreciate your point. It can be a slippery slope.
And here's the slippery slope. So when people vent, they raise cortisol and adrenaline, stress hormones, right? Because the message is something's wrong. And the amygdala doesn't know, is it something wrong from a memory I'm living, or is it something wrong in the outside world? It can't distinguish the difference. It just is after keeping me safe. So I start venting, my cortisol and adrenaline go up. I'm in the fight or flight response. Now I'm scanning the environment. And the interesting thing about adrenaline and cortisol is they're stimulating. They're stimulants. It's like getting a hit of caffeine. So it feels good. Right away, I'm more alert. Why am I more alert? Because the amygdala doesn't know, is there a tiger in the outside environment? It doesn't know that I'm just rehashing and rehearsing an old memory or something that happened last week. So it's on high alert, and I need that high alert state in case it's a tiger, but it's never a tiger. And so that hit of adrenaline, that hit of speed that I get, becomes addicting. I get addicted to that. And so I can convince myself that venting feels good, but all I'm doing is keeping myself addicted to stress hormones. And stress hormones are so degrading on the metabolism, on the tissues in the body. There are disease states related to high stress hormones. So many chronic disease states are related to that. And so not only is venting just spreading bad vibes, but it's actually damaging the people who are doing it and who are listening to it, because we're elevating stress hormones and cortisol, but we're addicted to it because it's a hit.
Right.
That's the slippery slope.
Great it's a great reminder, and it's such a great reminder when it comes to I feel like you take that to the natural conclusion when you've been raised in a certain degree of dysfunction and chaos and trauma, that even though it's bad for you, what feels normal, and to your point about getting that hit, you really have to be so conscious about disrupting that pattern, right? Because it is very much it's a chemical influence. It's an addiction of sorts.
Yeah, totally.
So it's a great explanation. Okay, let me come back to manifesting from the material world. What do you think of people who are low vibe in many ways? They come across as angry, dysregulated, but they still manifest great success. I'm talking politicians, actors, businessmen. Some people might even say somebody like a President Trump, somebody like a Jeff Bezos, somebody like a Kanye. They are out there living their best lives, but you don't think of them as high vibe beings. Doesn't that contradict the law of attraction?
So you bring up a really interesting point, and I think the person who answers that the most delicately is Abraham, my teacher, our teacher, Abraham Hicks. She would say that the only system that we have any agency or control or perspective on is our own. And so for someone who seems to be very successful materially, but who has a system that I just disagree with, value system wise. Like I just disagree with everything that person stands for, lives for, everything that comes out of their mouth. Their perspective on their own system might be totally aligned with what they want, might be totally in alignment. They might think, say, and feel in complete alignment with the direction they're going. They might be manifesting completely from the quantum field all the time, getting the thing that they're getting. And I'm never going to get my head around it because I, from a value standpoint, don't understand it. And in fact, the world is divided into people who are right. And that's how it is. We all are operating from our own perspective. And this is our own energetic anatomy. And this is the only anatomy that I will fully understand and the only one I have full agency over. So I actually don't have the ground to stand on to make a judgment about some other person. Are they manifesting from the field or are they manifesting from matter? If you ask one of these people that you named, how do you feel? Do you feel good? And they're like, yeah, I feel great. I feel great doing what I'm doing.
Kanye will say, I am God. I mean, it's like, and you're like, is that right? Because there's a lot of in the world of manifestation, this idea of like, each of us is a creator. Each of us is an expression of the divine. So in a lot of ways, he's not wrong, but a lot of people would hear that, him saying, I am God, and their eyes would roll to the back of their head and they would find that very objectionable.
Yeah. His reality is not a consensus reality. His reality is
his reality is not a consensus reality. I love it. That is perfectly said, Michael. Very diplomatic. To all the Kanye haters.
But if you ask him, like, how you feeling, he might say, I feel great. Like, this feels wonderful. And then I would say, sounds like he's probably manifesting from the field.
Well, it's just such an interesting contradiction because when you think about manifesting from the field, what we were describing is, or talking about this idea of positive feelings being the path to abundance, whatever abundance looks like, whether it's wealth, whether it's love, doing really purpose-driven work, whatever it is, right? So I think there is that kind of cognitive dissonance when I think about some of these people that really radiate low vibe, and yet they are extraordinarily powerful. And I would actually contend, I have a friend, this is in fact, he's one of the big manifestation gurus out there. He's friendly with a lot of billionaires, billion, with the B. And he talks about so many of these people are deeply unhappy, so deeply disconnected. And they come to him for advice. He's like, and he actually hit the highs, hit the lows, and then came back, found that positivity, compassion, and kindness. And, his is an extraordinary story, but it is an interesting cognitive dissonance between what appears in the material world, what we're seeing, the billionaire lifestyle, and these people who are deeply disconnected internally.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I spend, like I said in the video, I spend 90% of my energy being in control of what I think, say, and feel. That's hard work. Doing that in this environment of constant contrast and constant disagreement and drama, and which is really rich and alive, is also constantly throwing me and everybody else off their game. So alignment is constant work. You can get really good at it, and it does get easier, and you can get into effortless functioning with practice. But
Woo way is what I say to you, Michael. Woo way all day long. So what do you do? Because I love how you end your videos. Vibrant beings, you call us vibrant beings, and you're so joyful. You're radiant. So what do you do to keep up that 90% level? And that is a high bar.
yeah, so I'll just every morning I wake up at 4:30 every morning. I live kind of like a monk. I've got a family. I've got a wife and kids, but I wake up at 4:30 in the morning and I exercise for about 90 minutes. And just to get my body pumping and get my body feeling good. And then I sit down in front of an altar and I pray to my angels and my spirit guides and my well and wise ancestors. And I meditate and I activate my chakra system with the help of the larger powers that are in my life. And I'll sit there anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes. And this is before my family even wakes up. And I will not open my mouth to my family. I won't even go back. This is all happening in the basement. I won't go upstairs to the kitchen where my family is just emerging for breakfast unless something positive can be coming out of my vibe and out of my mouth. I will not, as a rule, I will not share negativity with them.
God, Michael, you're a big boss. you're a woo-way boss. That is really, I mean, what a beautiful discipline and beautiful gift. No, I say that so sincerely, that you're holding that standard for yourself to give to your family is a great gift. That's awesome.
It's totally self-serving too. I want to
And
point
it is totally, it's like love, right? Right? It is the most rational freaking thing you can do.
Yeah. And it's if I put in that amount of effort in the morning, the whole day goes great. It goes great. And if I miss a day or two in a row for traveling or whatever, things start to go sideways fast.
Yeah, I got you. So, okay, so you do an hour and a half of exercise and then 30 to 60 minutes of prayer, chakra work. Do you do affirmations?
I do tapping affirmations sometimes where I use acupuncture tapping, emotional freedom technique, which is based on acupuncture. And I combine affirmations with EFT. I love that when I have the chance to do that. That's like a midday thing. If I feel like I'm sort of dipping energetically, or I've had a difficult interaction with somebody and I kind of need to bring myself back and I have a few minutes, I'll tap. That's always magic for me.
What's one of your best go-to tapping techniques or tapping affirmation combos?
So I'll write it out. I'll just write out 9 different affirmations based on the number of points that I'm going to hit. And
okay.
Depending on what I feel
all different ones?
Yeah. Like, and okay. You can just look it up. You can, ask ChatGPT, give me 9 affirmations around abundance or around, positive relationships or something, and then just get 9. And then I just go through the points, the tapping points. And I say a different affirmation from the list with every point.
And how long does that exercise typically take you?
So I usually like to do 3 rounds as a minimum, and then if I want to do more than that, I do it by 3s. So if I do 1 round of 3, so that's tap 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 tap. That's 1 tap 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 2, etc. A couple of minutes.
What's amazing about that is how massively that punches above its weight in terms of input versus output.
Yeah, so well said. Wow. Yeah. I like that a lot. It's because it's true. Like it's so reliable.
Well, and to me, when I think about, I'm a little bit more recently initiated into a lot of the woo way. In fact, I did a week in Denver last summer that was pivotal for me, doing a meditation retreat with Joe Dispenza. And that, if I can look back at my life, it's like that was the pivot point. And now I've been just voracious. And it's like, oh, when you get initiated and it's like, what else don't I know? Right. And then you want more. I mean, I've just become this, greedy in the best way to learn and to apply these things into my own life because it's the most rational thing I can do. And so so when I think about things that are as simple as tapping and how even in just a few minutes, you can reset your nervous system in a way that, yes, it's good for the other people, but it is so completely self-serving, right? And that's the great gift of these techniques and people like you that teach them, and that you have like this giant following because people are hungry for it. People are hurting. Like they want the techniques. They want to know how to do things better, right?
Yeah. And there's a native awareness that something else is going on here besides the message we get about ourselves, which is that you're a material being having an energetic experience. We all have this sense like, no, I think I'm a spiritual being having a physical experience. I think that's actually really, because I kind of have a little intuition that tells me that that's what's going on.
That's it, right? And I think to accept that and kind of revel in that it's cool. It's cool. Like I feel like I did the Mind Valley Manifestation Summit over the weekend, and I had like one great insight after another. And I literally wrote down in my journal, I'm just like, I can't unlearn this. That is the great news. I can't unlearn this. It's inside of me. Hallelujah. Right?
Yeah.
Let's go back though to the quantum field. What is that? And how do people tap into it more effectively? Because it feels like that's where a lot of the action is when it comes to living an aligned, abundant life.
Yeah, so the quantum field is a sea of energy that is not well defined yet by quantum physics. But I've heard it described, and I forget the scientist that said this, that so the energy in the quantum field is also called dark matter. You may have heard of that, of dark matter.
And the universe is like 70% dark matter. It's like an insanely big number.
It's an insanely
big percentage.
It's an insanely big number. And I heard a scientist say that a tablespoon of dark matter would boil all the oceans in the world. That's how much energy is there. There's another school of thought in quantum physics that articulates it with a little more ease and clarity, and that's the holographic model. And they talk about the implicate order and the explicate order. So the implicate order is the large backdrop, the energetic backdrop of all of reality. And the explicate order is what material reality emerges as. It's explicit, right? The explicit and the implicit.
I'm kind of tracking. I'm going to let you keep going, and I know it's all going to become manifest when you finish. Keep going.
Yeah. So the idea is that everything's energy, and that's all there is to it, right? That's always the answer that we get to, and you can change that verbiage around, and you can say everything's God, and that's all there is to it, or everything's consciousness,
or
and
everything is love, right?
Or
and that's all there is to it.
And that's all there is to it. Yeah. So truth exists, and so when we say that, we're setting ourselves up logically for the fact that oneness exists, right? If something's true, anything not that thing is not true. And so there is this infinity, truth, oneness, consciousness. God is everything. There is a thing that is everything. And out of that everything emerges all of the other things. And so all of the other things are made from that everything by definition. And so if everything is consciousness, if everything is God, then everything is made from God. If everything is consciousness, then everything's made from the stuff called consciousness. If everything is energy, then everything is made from energy. And matter is just a variety of energy. Matter is just a variety
that concentrated, what we think of as this microphone or this bracelet is just a greater concentration. Okay, but so going back to the quantum field, so the idea is that the quantum field, this soup of energy, hard to define, mostly dark matter, that it sounds like dark matter, it's like just an unbelievable amount of energy, like really concentrated energy. So how do people, in your experience, how do people tap more effectively into the quantum field? Because it seems like that's how, by tapping into the quantum field, it's how we get they're infinite, like in the multiverse analogy, there are infinite realities. And you and I could be having a really sad conversation right now, right? One of those realities, we're really mad at each other. Another one, we're really sad, but this one is the best, right? So how do people tap in and get that reality that says, I want the love of my life. I want the dream job?
By activating their chakra system, for one, activating your energetic anatomy.
Okay, back to energetic anatomy. Great.
Yeah, allowing your attention to pour through your energetic anatomy. Instead of my attention being stuck up here and thinking about what I have to do today and the grocery list and the argument I had and all that.
In my head, it's getting in your body, right?
Yeah, dwelling
yes, I love
in your, having an embodied emotional experience, an embodied felt experience, like dropping from your head to your heart. But it's not just the heart chakra that's available. There's hundreds of chakra points around your body. There's 7 primary ones along the midline that are widely known, and we can activate those simply by moving our attention to them. And they each bring about their own constellation of effects in terms of the agency they provide for us, the well-being they provide for us, the quality of communication with the larger field they provide for us. But there's another thing, and that's sort of like kind of like the shadow side of this conversation, and that is our limiting beliefs. All of us possess limiting beliefs that really stand as anchors to our momentum into these changes. You can focus just on these meditations of dropping into your heart chakra and activating your chakra system and really go for it and really do it all the time and get your limiting beliefs to transform. That is one way to do it. It's a lot of work. I think the faster way to do it is to turn toward the limiting beliefs and see if you can transform them. And that's something we use in our program. And it's a system of therapy that's really popular these days called internal family systems, developed by Richard Schwartz. And it's a deeply shamanic variety of therapy, and it's about turning toward the energetic aspects of us that are still holding old beliefs from childhood, that when those beliefs are transformed, they cease to act as anchors in our life and they become resources. And so, these parts of us that are holding old limiting beliefs are parts of our energetic anatomy, our emotional anatomy, that we can sort of fast track the upregulation into energetic alignment by tending to them and getting them to transform. We can fast track that experience.
I am so glad you mentioned that. Honestly, a big namaste to you, because I feel like that idea of shadow work and just referring back to what you said, internal family systems, Richard Schwartz, for people listening and watching, such a powerful way to deal with the trauma, the limiting beliefs, the heartache. I mean, you can call it a lot of different things. I feel like the word trauma is actually not even a good one, because it's like, oh, well, if I didn't go, through war, then I guess I don't have trauma. It happens in all these ways. But I'm really glad you reference that, because I do my personal experience, and I've observed a lot of people by whatever you call it, just by doing that healing, that you free yourself to be able to then go into that chakra work, do your deep meditations, do your affirmations, and be worthy to receive. I mean, I feel like it's back to then, if 90% of your energy is going into feeling high vibe, feeling love, feeling joyful, feeling excited, grateful, all those things, it's way easier. Otherwise, you're in this dissonance, right? And in fact, if anything, I feel like I used to struggle at times with, I know I'm supposed to be more high vibe now. Why, I've made all this progress. Why have I regressed? And that then ends up creating a whole other loop, right? Of frustration, of like, what the F? I thought I was further than this. And of course, sometimes you go 3 steps forward and 4 steps back to ricochet like a, bow and arrow. But I am glad that you refer to this idea of just how important it is to do that inner work, to get to that place of true abundance.
Internal family systems is very high leverage work. It's an extension of activating your energetic anatomy, because your emotional anatomy is part of your energetic anatomy. And so these parts of us, these old beliefs that get trapped in the past of I'm not good enough, or I don't deserve, or whatever the limiting belief is.
I have to prove myself.
I have to prove myself. We mostly, as adults, shove those down into the shadows. We exile them to places where we don't consciously think about them. We shove them into our unconscious. But they run like old code in the background all the time anyway. So it doesn't matter how many affirmations I do and how much praying I do and exercise I do at 4 a.m. If I don't tend to that old code that's running in the background, then my vibe that I'm emitting out into the universe will always be a combination of the good work that I did in the light and the shadow that is still running old code in the background. And so if I can learn to habitually turn toward the shadows and bring them into the light, and know that the part of me that thinks it's not good enough isn't me. I don't think that. I know I'm totally good enough. There's a part of me that thinks I'm not good enough. And sometimes it floods my perspective and I think I'm not good enough. Oh, wait, that's a part of me that thinks I'm not good enough. And now I have a chance to relate to that part. Hey, I'm here with you. You're safe. I got you. Where did this start? Tell me what happened. And start to relate. And same thing with any aversive emotion. Like I get a flash of anger, right? I'm not angry. It's a part of me that's angry. Anger doesn't define me. And so a part of me is angry. Thank you, anger, for protecting me. I know that that's all you were doing was protecting me. Thank you. I got this. Let me handle this situation. Why don't you stand beside me and I'll handle the situation from this more curious, open-hearted place. It's such high leverage work, and it can, in the moment, shift my energy inside for the better. And so it's not yes, go to therapy and get this done with a trained IFS therapist. Go to IFS groups and do this work. And the end state is that this is the paradigm, the relational paradigm you're in with yourself persistently. So anytime an aversive emotion comes up, sadness or fear, anxiety or anger, you automatically get this. Let me get some distance from that, readopt the perspective of curiosity and appreciation, turn toward this invariably younger part of myself and offer it appreciation and guidance from my 56-year-old self who's here and present and curious and genuinely on board. And that allows transformation. And so anger becomes creativity. Anxiety becomes power. It allows these parts of us to transform. And it's not like we never get to an end point. I'm always going to find myself in situations that can flash anger in me. But how I learn to relate to it as a habit is the real power move.
Such a power move. What were some of the limiting beliefs that caused you to go so deeply into IFS and then leave being an acupuncturist and pursue this work?
Oh gosh, all the normal ones like that we all carry: shame and self-loathing and gosh, I'm not enough, imposter syndrome, nonstop anxiety and panic attacks were a big thing in my life for a lot of time. Rage, anger, temper problems. You name an aversive emotion, and I've lived it and had been on a first name basis with it for way too long. And then I finally found this way of relating with these parts of me in a high consequence, high leverage manner that that gives me agency again, that puts me back in control of what I think, say, and feel.
Oh my God, you're gonna make me cry. I mean, because so many people haven't discovered how to do that. Good for you. How long were you in IFS, internal family system work, before you really started to feel the shift?
Well, the thing about IFS, it's so IFS suggests that the mind has an architecture, and that architecture is a higher self around which are organized a system of parts. And Daoism is saying the same thing. So my acupuncture training made the same observation. So Richard Schwartz didn't create IFS as a model. He discovered it as a phenomenon in his patients.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So, and it's been discovered and rediscovered over the millennia since the Taoists first wrote about it 5,000 years ago. So they wrote about what we call multiplicity of the mind, a higher self around which is organized a system of parts. And it's so native to us already. We all already talk that way. Part of me wants to go to the party tonight. A part of me wants to go to the party tonight, but a part of me wants to stay home and read my book and do laundry instead. Or a part of me wants to eat this cake, and another part of me wants to stay fit because summer's coming. we all use this parts language all the time. It's in our vernacular. So it's a phenomenon. This architecture of the mind, multiplicity of the mind, is a phenomenon that exists in our energetic anatomy. So the energetic anatomy has structure to it, even though it doesn't have physical structure to it. It has an organization, has a geometry to it. And that's what Richard Schwartz discovered. And so when I discovered Richard Schwartz, I was like, oh, finally, someone's talking about multiplicity of the mind in a way that I can use, because the ancient Taoist metaphors I did not find so useful.
Okay, great.
I'm aware of the concept, but how do you use that with somebody? And he put this beautiful, simple, actionable language around it that really takes it to the next level. And so I've been aware of this concept for almost 30 years. And about 5 years ago was when I came upon Richard Schwartz's work and got trained with the IFS Institute. And
oh, wow, you went deep.
Yeah, and my wife is a psychotherapist, and she teaches for the IFS Institute and IFS Canada. She's a wonderful IFS therapist, and she actually co-runs the program with me. And IFS is the language of our household. It made our relationship so much better when we came upon it 5-6 years ago.
Well, I appreciate that deeply. Again, back to how many people are hurting and looking to not hurt. And I look at you as a vibrant, radiant being, and it's like, just look at Michael, guys, somebody who was on a first name basis with shame, anger, grief, all the things that you said. And here you are, so joyful. In fact, I want to, since you referenced your wife, you talk on your channel about how you got divorced twice and now you're married. And it sounds like you manifested a beautiful relationship. Will you talk about that? Because that's the ultimate prize, right? That's the ultimate prize.
Yeah, I was at a really insanely low place in my life where I was, manifestation is never off. You're always manifesting. Law of attraction is like gravity. It's always on. It's always in the full power position. And what I was manifesting was a shitty life, like a terrible, crappy life.
And how long ago are we talking?
We're talking almost 20 years ago.
Okay.
So
you're in your mid-30s.
I was in my mid-30s. No, I was in my early 40s. Yeah, I'm in my mid-50s now. And so I was in the middle of a divorce and broke, and I was getting sick. I was getting an autoimmune disorder, and like really getting sick. And the doctors said to me, "This is the kind of thing this is going to kill you. You could die from this. There's no cure for this." And I thought, "Oh my gosh, I need to do something. I need to switch it up." And so I just started with the illness, and I said, "I will never talk about this illness ever again. I have control over this." And so I took control over this, and I stopped talking about this autoimmune disorder that I had. And then I knew I could stop typing. So I stopped researching, because the doctor said, there's no cure for this.
Wow.
And all the
Do you feel comfortable saying what it was?
It was MS. And there's no cure for that. It kills you. And so there was nothing I was going to find on the internet that was going to do anything.
That gave you good news. You're not going to find good news. It doesn't matter how much you type.
More bad news. So I stopped typing. I stopped researching it, stopped talking about it. And I started exercising. I said, well, what's the opposite of that? Well, I can still move this body. Let me start exercising. So I just became a beast with exercise. I just started exercising 7 days a week, and I have not stopped since in 20 years. And just consistently exercising every day and getting my life back. And my life started to UpSpiral, because exercise has so many downstream benefits. Exercise is the lowest hanging fruit. People always ask me, if I did one thing different in my life, what's the thing I should do? I only have time to do one thing. Lowest hanging fruit in this whole conversation is physical exercise. Because there's so many downstream benefits to your metabolism, your thought processes, your cognition, your emotional well-being. It is the low-hanging fruit. And so I really went for it. And my life started to measurably UpSpiral. And I started to pay attention to Abraham Hicks and read their books, and just became voraciously consuming those and realized like, wow, I really have a lot of resources as an acupuncturist, because I started reading about law of attraction. I was like, this is just Daoism. This is what I do at work. I know this stuff. And so I just really personally took that stuff inside. I was no longer delivering medicine to people. I was having a relationship with them with the needles, and living into the fullness of this UpSpiral experience. And in a very short amount of time, I was feeling a lot better, and never looked back on the autoimmune disorder, and got my financial life in order, got my work in order. And then once my divorce was through, and have a very amicable divorce, we have a child together. Once that was all finished, I thought after a couple of years, I was like, I think I want to date. I want to meet somebody. And I went on a bunch of dates with the dating app, and was really wanting from that place of being in a positive place to meet the one. And
were you calling in the one? Were you conscious that you wanted that, or was it just like, yeah, it could
I mean,
happen,
I
it
wasn't doing
couldn't?
practices, but
Okay,
energetically,
but
like
your
I was,
intention was, I want to find her.
I want
I'm
the
ready
one.
for her.
I really want it to work. I want a relationship that really works. And if I got experience of 2 failed marriages, and I want something way better than that. And I went on a date, and it was with a woman, and I looked at her in the pictures on the website. I was like, wow, she is way out of my league. And so I reached out to her anyway, and she said yes to a date. And then we met at the bar, and I got to the bar, and the bar was just open, so we were the first people there. And there was nobody there, and I was a little bit late. And I said to the bartender, "Is there a woman here with dark hair?" And he goes, "Yeah, she's in the bathroom."
Oh,
said, "Oh, great."
You didn't get ghosted, thank God.
So I just made myself comfortable at the bar, ordered a beer, and she came out of the bathroom, and I just said, "Oh no, I am so out of my league."
Oh yes, Michael.
And she came, and we talked, and I had been dating for about 2 years at this point, and I had like my rap, like I would say on my first date, and I sped through my rap in about half an hour, and I got to the end of it, and I thought, I don't have anything else to say. I'm so anxious. And I looked at my phone, and I was like, "Oh, you don't say. Oh, I have a thing. I gotta go.
No, are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding. I was so anxious. I was having a panic attack, sitting in front of this beautiful woman who was way out of my league. And I was like,
oh my God.
it was
You're like, I need the ChatGPT prompts. Quick. Where was ChatGPT 10 years when you needed it?
It was
10 years
abort. So I aborted, and I was like, I gotta go. And I split, and I was like, oh, thank goodness that's over. Whoa. And fortunately had a therapy session the next day. So I said to my therapist, I told him the whole thing. And he said, oh, what a great thing. You have to totally ask her for a second date. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, what a laboratory you can be in. You know, for sure, this woman's going to provoke the worst limiting beliefs in you. You got to go live into that again and see if you can find some dimension to that. I was like, all right, you're right. So I asked her out on a second date. And she said yes. I was like, oh my gosh. And then the story just goes from there. We were more comfortable the second time. And then we had a third date a few days later. And then we never looked back.
Well, that could have been some good game that you had there. You know, she's like, whoa, this guy's not into me.
Maybe that was what did it. Yeah.
Was she, after you guys, really got, comfortable and in a relationship, did she say to you, what the F? Why did you bail? Like, I was feeling it. Oh, that's awesome.
She's like, I didn't know what's going on. I thought we were totally getting along. She's like,
and then did you come clean and say, yeah, I freaked out a little bit. I had to go.
Yeah. Like by the fourth date, I told her the whole thing. I was like, this is actually what was going on for me.
That's beautiful. I love that. Well, and it's such a powerful story. And thanks for just sharing something so fun. And positive, right? After 2 failed marriages, or, maybe they're not failed marriages, but marriages that concluded in divorce, that you did your own work so that you could manifest. It's like, oh, I want to find the right person. And, it's a trope, but it's a true trope. I need to be the right person. And it sounds like you did the work so you could be the right person.
Yeah. And just to be fair, I was forced into doing the work. my back was against the wall with an autoimmune disorder and poverty. And so I didn't take the higher road. I wasn't like, gosh, I want to find another relationship. I should do some inner work and get that sorted out first. My back was against the wall physically and financially. And that
Marianne Williamson talks about when you're on your knees, how that is sometimes the very best place to be, to say, okay, I surrender. I'm going to do something now. The universe is telling me something, and I'm going to frickin' listen, and I'm going to answer that goddamn call.
Yep.
That's what I say.
Yep. Precisely. Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. Okay, I could talk to you all day. A few more questions. You say angels are real. Explain that.
Angels are perhaps the most recognized higher being across wisdom traditions. So, of course, we know the named angel hierarchies from the Abrahamic traditions, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. And they're the same names across those three traditions. These three traditions, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, which are so at odds with each other now and seem so different from one another now.
It's bananas. I mean, it's been so politicized, right, Michael? I mean, it makes me so mad. But anyway, go ahead, please. Angels.
Yeah,
Let's stick with angels.
They all talk about the same angels, right? Same names, same angels. And then we see, if you scratch the surface of any wisdom tradition, you find beings that fit the same role as they do in Christianity, for example, that these are divine messengers from the higher source, and they are here to be mentors to human beings. The way I think about higher beings, and angels included, is so if we're in agreement that everything is energy and that's all there is to it, and we can think of that larger field, the quantum field, as the ocean, right? There's the ocean, and then each individual wave on the ocean is a human being, right? And so that wave has its own articulation. It's a unique thing, and it's time limited, and then it returns to the ocean at some point. So it's part of the ocean. It emerges. It appears to be individual, and then it returns. Well, that's not the only individuated thing in the ocean. You also have, for example, the tide off the Pacific coast. That's an individuated being with its own characteristics, its own personality, its own behavior, much like the wave has its own characteristics, personality, and behavior. But it's a much larger version of personality, characteristics, and behavior. It's not nearly the size of the whole ocean, but still pretty big. There are ocean currents. There's that whole Pacific Rim thing that's happening in the Pacific Ocean, and there's a dominant current throughout the whole Pacific Ocean that defines the Pacific Ocean, which would be an even larger being that's not quite the ocean, but is a thing that has characteristics, personality, and behavior. And so in this metaphor, we can see how, yes, at the very smallest wave level of thing, the human being, there are also, as part of this larger ocean, this larger consciousness, there are larger beings that impact the waves, right? So the way the tide is flowing in and off the Pacific coast impacts the way the waves manifest. And so the tide is the larger being that's affecting the waves.
Well, and then you get the celestial impact. Let's face it, that, it's the moon is impacting these tides, right? I mean, so then that's not just so-called woo, it's physics, it's astronomy.
Physics. Yeah. It's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. It's
so all so how do angels appear in your life? And are they, because I could say, and I say it sincerely, Michael, you're an angel. And I don't think that's what you mean, though. I think you mean like really kind of disembodied energetic beings, right? Am I getting that right?
Yes, there are discarnate beings that are
discarnate. I've never heard that. That's a new word.
Yeah, they're mentors to humanity, and they show up across wisdom traditions, and they are the guardian angels, the archangels, and they're named. So Archangel Michael, I am named after Archangel Michael. I was born Irish Catholic, and like a good Irish Catholic boy, I was named Michael, and the genesis of that name in Irish Catholicism is Archangel Michael, Saint Michael. And so I'm named for this archangel, and I've had access to the wider field, the spirit guides and the archangels since I was a baby, since I was a small boy. And my mom had a lot of access too. My mom was psychic, and she recognized in me that I had these sensitivities, that I was already sort of activated in my chakra system. I was already having conversations with the spirits. I would talk to her about the stories they would tell me during my nap time and the things that they would say and the imaginary friends that I had. And she normalized for me all of this and kind of told me, you just tell me about that over time and we'll just keep it to ourselves. And that's what led me to acupuncture, was because I persisted with this awareness and this openness to this wider field through adulthood. And I was like, I need a job where I can do this and be in touch with this level of mysticism all the time, because that's where I live. And so how do the angels show up in me? I'm very kinesthetic in my awarenesses. So I don't get words or linear language so much. I get imagery and kinesthetic experiences. So
when almost like physiologically, kind of tactile. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So when I sit down in front of my altar every morning and I pray to Archangel Michael to open things up, he comes into my heart and I actually feel a spreading sense of bliss in my heart. And if I'm distracted, I can actually hear a tickle in my brain saying, when you're ready to show up, I'm ready for you. And it's him being like really forthright, like, show up or don't show up, but I'm here. They're beings with agency, with opinions, and I'm a being with agency and with opinions. And one of the things that I talk about in our program, because we do this spirit work in the program, is it's a conversation that we learn to have with the higher beings. It's not, let me just bow down and do everything you say, but let me hear what you have to say and I'll weigh in with my opinion, and we can have a genuine back and forth conversation and negotiation about what is. And I'm grateful for your input, and I may not always agree with it.
I mean, honestly, I'm not a religious scholar, but it does feel like you go back to these mystic traditions in Judaism and Christianity and so forth. I mean, as you're talking, I'm feeling the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and you know, my husband's from India, and before his dad died, a very, very scholarly Hindu man. And he taught me so much. We would have these great, long, endless conversations about Hinduism. And when I think of that tradition, how the different incarnations show up. I mean, I've got a little Ganesha here. I mean, you've got, you know, like, and then I got Lakshmi over there. And I think of just so in Catholicism and Christianity, it's the angels, and in Hinduism, it's Vishnu and oh my God, I'm the creator, the destroyer, all these different incarnations. And it's fascinating. You were talking about like the shamanic traditions. It feels like beyond the shamanic traditions, most of these, what became religious, but maybe started as spiritual practices, have these, the presence, these did you say decarnated? What was that word? Discarnate. Yeah. Discarnate, beings.
Yeah. Yeah. And the wisdom traditions that we're familiar with, like what Jesus preached was about this embodiment experience. If you read it right, he said the kingdom of God is within. He was being literal.
Yeah, literal. Yeah, totally.
Go inside and have an embodiment experience. Be in your heart and have an embodiment experience. That's what he's talking about. And if you read any of the Christian mystics, they're all having these exultant physical experiences. It's ecstatic. When you allow yourself to flow source energy through your anatomy, it's ecstatic, it's bliss. And it's not limited to the saints and mystics. We all have that hardware to do it.
Yeah. Well, totally. And I just, when I think about, what's coming to mind, whether it's in certain Protestant churches with a lot of music to, more of the native traditions, a lot of music, just how music and chanting and these, meditation and so forth hello, let's go to a rave, Michael.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And this idea that, and I'm so grateful with the practice that I've embodied, just feeling that bliss through a deep meditation, through like really intensive chakra, or, in Joe Dispenza's language, blessing of the energy work center. It's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like where is this even coming from?
Right.
I mean,
right.
It's real. It is. And then you add, to me, what is, no joke about the rave or these other, people getting together in these different sort of religious ceremonies and so forth, that how that can multiply. Even in the Joe Dispenza meditation retreat that I went to, that there are 1,000 of us or 2,000 of us in a room meditating together with really clear intentions. You feel it.
You feel it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, something's happening there. Sorry, go ahead.
The end stage of this work, the woo way of all of this, is that you realize that the mundane is mystical, that you don't need to sit in front of an altar. And Joe Dispenza preaches this, that like, no, this is where you need to operate from all the time. That's the invitation here. Yeah, come experience it for the first time in this giant group, and it's going to be totally high voltage when you do it here. And the invitation is, you can be here all the time. You can operate.
You can be here all the time. It was I'm trying to remember who it was saying, if it was the Dalai Lama or one of the other great teachers. When you're doing the dishes, do the dishes. Feel the soap, and that it's just an invitation to be present. In fact, I think this is you know what it is? Snap. Lao Tzu, chop wood, carry water. Right? To me, I can't tell you. Probably millions of times I've had that thought. Chop wood, carry water, doesn't matter what I'm doing. That's it, right? And it's such a, as I've internalized that, when I get distracted, feeling stressed or not calm necessarily, or not present, it's like, oh, chop wood, carry water. Got it. I got the memo.
Yeah,
I'm back.
Right.
Okay, I got some rapid fire questions for you, and I know you can answer them fast because you do it every day on TikTok and Instagram. You say no is a full sentence. What do you mean by that?
Wow, I have to dig deep on these.
Here, let me help you. Okay. So we're co-creating. We're co-creating something amazing here. I'll tell you what it meant to me. It was one of your videos. And sorry to go so deep into your archives.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
You talk about how to overcome being a people pleaser. And I loved, you said, when somebody's asking you something, you take the 3 seconds, 1,000, 2, 1,000. See, I'm a devotee. I want the 5 stars. I want the 5-star fan on your. Okay, good. You take that breath, and by the way, this is so common. It's not just me, and I'm emphasizing this because there are so many people that have a hard time saying no. They want to be liked. They don't want to disrupt. They're conflict avoidant. All those things. There's no shame in it. Let's talk about it. Like this whole show, getting open. Like, let's be real. So you talk about like taking that 3-second pause, not saying yes right away. And then if you're not really ready for the yes, you say, let me get back to you, or let me check my schedule. And then you say, no is a full sentence. And I love that because so often I'll say no, and then it's verbal diarrhea. And it's like, no, I can just say no. I love it. Permission just to say no from Michael.
Yeah, I'm totally. That's the video I made on people pleasing, and yeah, you articulated it beautifully. It's that. It gives that.
Well, permission just to say no and not have to explain yourself is a gift. You talked about agency a couple of times. To me, that's reclaiming your agency and not over-explaining. And so often we feel like we need to over-explain because we don't want the other person to feel bad. To me, it's a gift to be in that discomfort. And that, when I think about changing patterns, it's do that thing that's uncomfortable, because when you do it a few times, changing your behavior changes how your brain works. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. I got a couple more rapid fire questions for you. You talk about what is the one thing that happy people do. Let me actually rephrase that. What is the one thing that happy people do?
They know how reality actually functions, which is that the universe is an expansive playground of well-being. And the quickest way to be effective is to expand into well-being yourself, because then you're aligning with what's happening all around you, which is an expansive playground of well-being. So the fastest way to be effective as a human being is to expand into well-being yourself. That's what happy people do differently.
Then I've got a couple fun ones from just since so many people are obsessed with pop culture. I got a couple in the pop culture realm that I wanted to ask you about. Hang on one sec. If you had 5 minutes to coach someone like Billie Eilish or Zendaya on using manifestation to shape their next chapter, what would you tell them?
The same thing I tell anybody else. Do what you need to do to be in charge of what you think, say, and feel, and everything flows from there.
It's that simple.
It's that simple. It's not easy, but it is simple.
There are many examples of some of the greatest, most successful icons in pop culture, actors, musicians, athletes. Think Steph Curry, Tom Brady, Lady Gaga, Ariana Grande, Ronaldo. They swear by techniques that are common in manifestation. Things like visualization, things like meditation, having really clear intentions to win the US Open, to win a Grammy, to win an Oscar. They don't talk about manifestation, but they're using these techniques, right? They're clearly using these techniques. What do you think? I mean, do you feel like there should be more attention given to these kinds of people as leaders? I mean, and it reminds me of what you were saying about Alex Hormozi, isn't talking about manifestation, but is clearly doing it. So what do you wish, if you wish, people would understand about what these kinds of extremely well-respected people are doing, successful, well-respected?
Yeah, I think it's a simple answer. And that is like there's so many models of success. There's so many people who are living in abiding Wu Wei. So many celebrities and sports heroes are living in abiding Wu Wei, effortless functioning, because they put in the 90% of their effort on their state of being. So many entertainers, so many Hollywood celebrities are living in that place because they put in the work. They know that taking care of their insides takes care of the outside. That when they show up with a certain vibration, they manifest what they want. When they get their mind in the right place, they can win the US Open. When they get their mind in the right place, they can be on the NBA team that wins.
NBA All-Star, right?
Yeah,
Goats.
whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They know that they can get the Netflix special. They know they can land the XYZ. They can, So I think celebrities and sports celebrities are really a very low-hanging fruit to look toward as models of success. And I always keep my ears peeled to any celebrity that's willing to sort of let us under the hood. There's a great special when Dave Chappelle was given it's Dave Chappelle. I can't remember if it was the special where he was given the Kennedy Prize or one of his stand-up routines, but he started to talk about big dreamers. I think it's one of his stand-up routines. And he was letting us underneath his process. Jim Carrey talks about his process in manifestation quite a lot. So really like seeing it from their perspective. And that's been really helpful for me. I actually have on my altar some quotes from Dave Chappelle that were really consequential for me. That help bring a facet of understanding to this whole domain of work that moves the needle for me.
Can you remember any of the specifics from Dave Chappelle?
Yeah, he talked about big dreamers. So he said, you go to any Hollywood party. If you're a celebrity and you get invited to a Hollywood party, it's full of celebrities. And the reason it's all full of celebrities is we're all big dreamers. And you can just translate that into we're all big manifestors. These are all people living in Wu Wei. And that's why they all hang out together, is because they all understand each other. They get what it's like to have that amount of agency in their life all the time, 24/7. And it's more satisfying to be around people who have that amount of agency, who are never holding themselves back with limiting beliefs. That's a drag. When you're up in Wu Wei and it's a drag to be around people who are a drag.
No low-vibe people coming to this party.
Yeah. And so he talks about this one story about, I was like, you have to be careful about whose dream you're in, especially when you're around a lot of big dreamers. And he's like, I was at a party once and I thought I was the big dreamer in the room. I thought everyone is in my dream right now. And then he named a rap artist who walked in the door, and I forget who it was. And he said, this artist walked in the door and he was dressed in a certain way and a pink outfit with feathers and whatever else. And he realized like, oh no, we're all in his dream tonight.
That's very Dave Chappelle, right? He's
Yeah.
so cute and self-effacing. We saw him once in Denver. So good. I didn't realize he was into that kind of thing. I'm intrigued. I'm going to go and see what else I can learn from Dave Chappelle. He is a genius. Yeah. And, is willing to take some risks.
Yeah. Oh, big
and,
time.
And,
yeah.
Kind of stir things up.
Yep.
Which is, also his job.
Yep. Yeah.
And I feel like when you, like somebody like him, big dreamer, stirs the pot, takes the risks, a lot of people start to, clutch their pearls. And it's like, wait, why is that bothering you? Right? I mean, it's like it ends up being this reflection of, hey, I'm telling a truth or observation as I see it. And I do think there's that, kind of embedded in that big dreaming and so forth. These, maybe it's the embodied, I don't want to say angel, that sounds so like kooky, but that people like that are there to wake up and, kind of challenge us a little bit more out of our limiting beliefs or blind spots and so forth. Michael, it is right at the very nanosecond. I know you need to go.
Oh, wow.
I could talk to you for days. I hope you'll come back on my show. I hope I get to meet you in person and give you a big hug one day. You've been amazing.
Oh, it's been so fun talking to you, Andrea. Yeah, it's been so fun. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for being on Getting Open. I wish you all the best. And we're going to be in touch. I'll be the stalking person that's like writing on your, manifestation and Getting Open and, Dave Chappelle and all the comments. I'm going to be like your stalker. Anyway, thanks again, Michael. Take care.
Thanks, Andrea. Okay.
Oh my God. I hope you love that show as much as I loved doing it. I mean, oh, wow, so many takeaways. And they're probably the biggest one that I'm going to take away with me, and I want you to take away with you, when I asked him about the coaching that he'd give to Zendaya or Billie Eilish, where he just said, what you think, what you say, what you feel, it's just that simple. Not easy, but by being so focused, he even said, remember at the beginning of the show, I know it seemed like it went on for days, that if you put 90% of your effort into that feeling of feeling high vibe, being positive and so forth, that is the ultimate thing that you can do to manifest the life of your dreams, to have the joy, to have the gratitude, and the big relationships, all those things that we all want to have. It's just that simple. Not easy, but simple. That's what I'm taking away. I hope, like I said, I hope you love the show. It was so fun. As always, if you're not following the show or subscribing, please do. Wherever you get your podcast, YouTube, iHeart, Spotify, Apple, Audible, you got it. We are there and everywhere. Thanks for listening. I look forward to seeing you next time on Getting Open.